Welcome to American Freedom Radio. You're with Santos Bonacci, and it's a beautiful day here in the land of Oz. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Wednesday, the 9th of January. So we're well and truly into Capricorn territory, and over here it's summer, of course, but for most of the folks listening, I imagine it will be winter, so the heart of winter. And the stars are beautiful. So get out and check out the stars. The winter triangle is there, of course, Sirius with Procyon and Betelgeuse making the winter triangle. The reason I'm stumbling over these names is because I didn't want to give you a treatise on astronomy here, but I wanted to introduce today's guest, Jordan Maxwell, in a very, very dignified way, or as dignified as possible, because Jordan doesn't need an introduction, but I do want to compliment today's guest, Jordan, with some words of appreciation, because as you know, Jordan's been around for about 40 years teaching this stuff, Astro-theology, and the other subject which I love and is dear to my heart, and the listeners know, which is law. And what Jordan has exposed in terms of commercial law and admiralty law and what happens in the so-called law system has really been an eye-opener for humanity, and we've all benefited. We've all expanded our consciousness as a result of this wonderful information. And most of the listeners really, really appreciate that. It takes a lot of courage to expose this corrupt world. A lot of people get knocked off for doing it. So this is probably the best way that I can pay respect. And so welcome, Jordan.
Well, thank you very much, Santos. It's always a real pleasure to be with you. As far as I'm concerned, your work and what you've been able to do is just phenomenal. I highly recommend you to all my friends, and so I'm very impressed with what you've been able to do and how your mind works with the precision and the research that you've been able to do, and I very much admire everything you've done. And it's quite a story, the way the world really works, and it's so extraordinary. Most people are not able to wrap their minds around the full concept of how big this mess really is, because it's been going for thousands of years and perfecting itself and mutating and getting better and more fierce and more dangerous as it goes along. And today, most people have no idea in the world what's really going on. And but there's a scripture in the Bible in the New Testament that has Jesus saying, "By their fruits you shall know them." Someone came to him, and as the story goes, someone came to Jesus and had a seed in their hand, and they asked him, "What kind of a seed is this?" And he said, "Well, plant the thing, airhead, and water it, and watch what comes up. And if after a while an apple tree shows up, well, I guess it was an apple seed. Of course, if a pear tree shows up, well, I guess it was a pear seed. So by their fruits you shall know them." Well, what is the fruitage of the three major religions of the book? The three major religions of the world, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they're referred to as people of the book, because all three of those religions require a book. And so, but what is the result, the end result of the thousands of years of Christianity, Judaism, and the more recent Islam? What is the fruitage that they have brought into this world? Well, I mean, all you got to do is look around there. And so what spirituality should do, and what it should be offering, if it's coming from God, so to speak, It should be enhancing the human mind, enhancing the human spirit, and elevating the human psyche and the mind, and putting people at ease to understand where they come from and where they're going and what life is all about and all of that kind of thing, if it's coming from God, so to speak, whatever God is. I don't know what God is, but it's not on TV. But what is the fruitage of these three religions if it isn't chaos, drugs, alcoholism, wars? My God, we could go on for 20 minutes just talking about all the fruitage of the world religions. So I think it's an idea whose time has come to go back, as the Bible says. There's a scripture in the Old Testament that says, go back to the old way. I thought that was very interesting. I've got to look that up again, but I remember there was a scripture that says, go back to the old way.
Yeah, I remember that scripture. Absolutely.
And if you find that, email me that scripture, because I remember it distinctly. But when you talk about go back, we're talking about God telling mankind, go back to the old way. Well, that's bigger yet than you know, because first of all, Christianity, before it became known as Christianity, we're told in the Bible the first time the people called Christians were called Christians was in Antioch. But according to history, before people were called Christians, the religion was referred to as the way. I mean, that's everywhere. In all the reference books you will find that Christianity was originally called, in its very early days, it was called the way. And here the scripture says in the Old Testament, go back to the original old way. And then to add to that, the zodiac. The zodiac was, I think it's a Greek word, zodiac, but the very zodiac was referred to, before it was called zodiac, the circle of animals was referred to as the way. And I thought it's profound. The zodiac was called the way, and the original Christians were called people of the way. And then God tells the people, go back to the old way. So what I'm saying is that it's right there in the Bible. Astrology, astro-theology is the way. Well, since we've gotten totally away from that and into religion, Roman religion especially, this is why the people have no power around the world. People are being mistreated, raped and plundered and killed, and all the terrible things happening to the human race, because people, generally speaking, on the earth have no real power to do anything to protect themselves. And the reason why is because knowledge is power. And as long as you have no knowledge of where you've come from, what the words mean, what the history of the world has been, how the law works, how courts work, what business is, what is commerce, where did we come from, where are we now, where are we going, how does the world work? As long as you don't understand any of this, then you just you are nothing more than a slave to a system you don't understand, which I think is absolutely ludicrous on the face of it. Because today there is so much information out there. My God, you can be in Afghanistan and go on the web and read all kinds of dictionaries and reference works on all kinds of subjects. It's out there for anybody who wants to read and study. So in a world today where there is so much knowledge and wisdom and knowledge and understanding out there, if you just want to look for it, it's all right there. And yet today, the world is more ignorant and ill-informed than it's ever been. So I think that this is all part and parcel of a system which has been purposely designed. And I came across a quote from, what was that famous occultist during the Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner, from many, many years ago, very famous author and lecturer on occult matters, But he made a very interesting statement in one of his books. He said that in the 21st century, the late 20th century, 21st century, the United States will begin to try and eliminate wisdom and knowledge. But they will do it in such a way that it will not be apparent to the people. But very slowly they will try and remove knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from the people by giving them entertainment and alcohol and all the other things that, and especially sports. But I thought it was very important insight that the U.S. will slowly but surely begin to implement a system whereby the human race is slowly but surely led into the darkness, so that they will be ignorant, ill-informed, unread, and debased, and therefore ultimately will become a slave state. And all you need to do is go back and read 1984 and George Orwell and the New World. What is it, Brave New World, and watch movies like Time Machine. So it's all out there. Knowledge and wisdom is out there, but people are not interested in knowledge and wisdom. It takes too much time to actually read a book and think about things. So thank God we have people like you who are doing it for everybody else and making people aware of where we really are and where we're really going. It's very, very scary. And it's very, very frightening to me.
Yep, and it is to me. It certainly is. It certainly is. The world has gone astray, and they have left the old ways.
That's right. And where it's going, as well as I do, where it's going to go. It's the entropy of the system and entropy of the human race. It's going to wind down, and so it's not going to get better. We're only going to keep getting worse and worse, and more wars and more bloodshed and more stupidity and ignorance, and deeper into religion and crawling on our knees to the Queen Mum and to the Holy Father and all this nonsensical crap that's been dreamt up by the royalty of the world. And this is a big thing with me, especially big with me, is this whole idea of royalty. I mean, who the hell says anybody is royal? And they have a royal bloodline. And they put their pants on the same way I do, and they live the same way I do, and eat to stay alive like I do. And yet they're royal. They can drive around in gold chariots and flip the cigarette butts on you, and they're royals. I'm thinking, the human race must be totally out of its mind to be on their knees and be shaking in their boots when they see the Holy Father and Prince Charles and Princess Di and all of these royalty. And I think, who the hell are these royalty? They're nothing more than gangs. It's like the Crips and the Blood. It's a gangs. And one gang is bigger than the other gang, and it's all gangs, it's all money, it's all sex, money, political power. And then, once you begin to see it for what it really is, then you begin to see adult men acting like children. They act like babies, they act like children. It's just disturbing to me to see where the human race is heading, and there's nothing we can do about it. I've always said that trying to educate my fellow man is like trying to empty the Pacific with a cup, because it's just an enormous tsunami of willful, premeditated, willful stupidity and ignorance that is not interested in truth. They're not interested to know. And therefore, they will be herded in like herds and like cattle and put a number on them, and they've lost their spirituality, they've lost their humanity, they've lost their homes, their jobs, they've lost their government, and now the world is in the process of losing the only thing left, and that's their mind. People are losing their mind. They're killing people, and children killing children, wholesale slaughter everywhere. The whole human race, as you said, the whole entire human race has lost its way. and it's been purposely done by those people who know what they're doing, and they know things you don't know. And like George Carlin says, people running this planet, it's a big club, and you ain't in it. And so once you understand that, the Pope and the Muhammad and the Pope and all these other religious figures and Abraham and the Jewish prophets, all of this is a metaphor, symbolic stories, ancient mythologies that have been used by the power elites to manipulate and exploit the public, and it's about time the whole real truth comes out. And I've always been, that's what I've always wanted to do, just wake people up and say, why don't you do something really, really interesting? Do something really off the wall in your life. Why don't you read a book? That would be an interesting thing to do. Why don't you wake up and find out who is leading you and where are you being led? And one day you're going to wake up an old man and an old lady and 90 years old and find out that everything in your whole life was a lie, all of it. And you loved it. You couldn't get enough of it. You went out and voted for these thugs and these criminals. You crawl on your knees to your churches and quite literally crawling on their knees in Mexico. There are churches there where you have to crawl on your knees to go to that church. And so...
Jordan, hang on to that thought. Hang on to that thought. We're just going to a break now. I know you can't hear the music, but the music's come up, so hang in there. Folks, we're with Jordan Maxwell. Wow. And I know the listeners are so excited and so happy. So hang in there. We'll be back in a few short minutes.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
And welcome back to American Freedom Radio, friends. You're with Santos Bonacci and very special guest, Jordan Maxwell. And what a nice opportunity to mention the tie-in there with Maggie's Farm and what we were talking about before the break, Jordan. Bob Dylan there singing about Maggie's Farm, and we were talking about that and your desire to want to wake people up. So that's...
Well, I'll tell you, Santos, the reason why I decided to do what I did with my life is because when I was very young, I really sincerely wanted to know everything. I began asking questions at 7, 8, 9 years old, questions that adults would look at me and think I had 3 heads, asking crazy questions and about religion and God and law and government. And so I grew up as a child asking questions. I wanted to know. That's a big difference because that's why people are so ignorant today. They are choosing not to know. This way they don't have to be responsible for anything because they didn't know, and they don't want to know, period. But I did want to know, and I was always so happy to have people, authors, writers, speakers, people I could go to seminars and listen to, people who are educators that I could, after seminars were over, I could go and talk to and become their friend, and they shared with me their research and their bibliographies and where they got their material from. And so even as a little kid, I was after school, I did horrible in school. I was consistent as a student. I made straight F's. And but every day after school, I couldn't do anything in school. My grades were so bad because I hated school. I abhorred the whole concept of school because to me it was a prison. It was like going to San Quentin. It's a prison. I don't want to be there, but I have to be there, and I have to sit there. And so it occurred to me about the 6th or 7th grade that what school is, it's to teach you, it's a 12-step program, first grade to the 12th, it's a 12-step program to teach you how to react to the bell. when the bell rings, you get up and go here. When the bell rings, you get up and go there. So it teaches you discipline to know who's in charge. And when the bell rings, you get up and go. Don't ask any questions. So it was like a prison. And so I did terrible in school. But every day when I got out of school, I went to the library and sat and did what I wanted to do. I wanted to educate myself in the important subjects. So I spent all my time, having fun, sitting in libraries and reading and questioning everything. And, I told this story before. I'll tell it again because I think it's germane to what we're talking about. May have even told it on your show, but when I was, I was born and raised Catholic, and when I was about 9 years old, we had a confirmation service. And the nuns told us that tomorrow night, after the confirmation service is over, they told us that the bishop might perhaps want to ask you children if you have any questions now that you're confirmed Catholics. And so if that were to happen, do not ask any questions whatsoever. You don't have any questions. And so that night, the next night after the service was over, it actually happened. The bishop did say, now that you young children are confirmed Catholics, if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them. And everyone knew we're not to ask nothing. So I stood up to make damn sure everyone knew who I was. So I stood up and I said, I have a question for you. I said, my father works with torches. If there was an angel standing next to me, could I burn him with a torch? And would it hurt him if I hit him with the torch? And he just looked at me like I had three heads, and he says, no. And I said, why not? And he said, well, something to the effect, the way he said it was, fire is a natural thing. It needs wood or paper or plastic or something to burn. You can't just burn an angel. And I said, why can't you burn an angel? And he said, because angels are spirits. You can't burn a spirit. And I said, well, then why am I concerned about going to hell where my spirit will burn if you can't burn a spirit? And everyone looked at each other like a deer in the headlights. Nobody knew where the hell that came from and where this kid come up with this. And so the priest standing next to the kids in the church, he just pointed at me and said, sit down and shut up. And so from that point on, I pretty well knew where I was going in life. Something was wrong. Somebody's lying to me, and they think I'm a fool. And so that was when 9 years old, 8 or 9, 10 years old, whatever it was, at confirmation. Well, from there, I started on the bottom, so to speak, and I worked my way down from there. So it got even worse as it went on, because then I began asking all kinds of questions about the mayor, who said he's the mayor, and what does he do, and what is the government, and who are the police, and where did that idea come from, and how come when this country was founded we had cowboys, and cowboys could ride into town with their guns on their hips? There were no police. They didn't have to have any permits or fees or fines or tickets or ask permission or register your gun. And then all of a sudden now we've got a lifestyle where you have to have a permit to do everything, anything. You can't even get married. You can't even date somebody unless you got a permit. And so I started asking questions at a very young age, and the more I asked, the more it became apparent to me, nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. Nobody. They just look at me like I'm like I said, like I got three heads. Nobody has ever thought about asking simple questions. Question authority. And the very word authority gives us our word, comes from the word author. So, therefore, the police represent the authority. Well, you mean it represents the law. Who is the author of the law? Whose law? Who wrote the law books? Because whoever wrote the law books, well, hell, I could sit down and write a law book myself. And what makes my law any less than your law? And so I started questioning law, religion, science, and of course anybody with brain cells knows that science is nothing more than a religion today. And that's all it is. Science is a religion because it has its holy books, it has its saints, and you get your money from the government. You get your a permit to work. You get a license or permit to work with a degree, and without that degree, you're not going to get any money from the government. You're not going to get a job at the college. So I realized this whole entire system, as I was growing up as a teenager, I realized the entire world is mentally deranged, that nothing makes any sense. And then when I got into the work world and began to watch how people operated in companies and corporations and working and every day, just working with people every day, I saw how profoundly backwards, stupid, and it just amazes me how people will do things that make no sense whatsoever. And it's going to foul up. It's going to come back on you. And so that's one thing I noticed about corporate business is that corporations and big companies, almost all companies, all business has no time to do a job right. They don't have the time. It takes too much money and too much time to actually do a job right. Take a little bit longer and really do it correctly and make it right. They don't have time for that. We're talking business now. We got to cut corners. All the companies have plenty of time and plenty of money to go back and try and fix it later. They got plenty of money to do that. They can go back and try and rework it and repaint it and redo this and redo that. Why? Because you didn't do it right to start with. But since I have been around the world and I've lived a long time now and I've seen the way the world works, that's the way human nature is. Nobody is thinking, when everybody's thinking the same, that shows nobody's thinking at all. And so I look around the world that mankind has built, and what is the fruitage of the educational system, and how do we think, how do we reason, how do we operate? We don't. But it's just amazing how ignorant, ill-informed, and unread the human race really is, and especially, as I said, in relation to today, when there is so much knowledge and wisdom out there, if you just want to look. I mean, just look at what you have produced, which is astonishing how much knowledge is out there. I mean, you weren't privy to some CIA operation. It's all out there in books and reference books. All you need to do is go read. I mean, it is a novel idea to go out and actually read a book. But the bottom line is, wisdom and knowledge is out there if you wanted it. But most people don't want it. They don't want to know until they get in trouble. And I've noticed that when people get in trouble, and now they're going to court, and they're facing 20 years in a federal. Now they come to me and want to talk with me about the law and about what's going on and how I can protect myself. And the bottom line is that, if you have knowledge of, what is it? They say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So if you understood how the world works, if you understood how law works, you would have protected yourself a long time ago. So I just, as I said, this is why I've done what I've done with my life, is because I really appreciated being able to hear people who were knowledgeable and wise and were able to, and wanted to put the time into teaching me so that I could go to lectures and get tapes of teachers and writers and authors and lecturers and be able to learn something about the life that we live. And so that's what I wanted to give back. I just want to give back to people the concept and the idea of take back your mind, take back your sovereignty, take back your life. Because I'm telling you, when I think about what would it feel like if you woke up at 90 years old and you're home and you're old and tired and sick, and then you find out all of the wondrous things that you could have known. You could have You could have been an astronaut. You could have been a scientist. You could have been an astronomer. You could have learned all kinds of wonderful, strange secrets about the universe and about life and the occult world of metaphysics. All the things you could have known. And yet, what did you do with your life? You just went to church and watched TV and drank a few beers, and that's it. Now you're 90, and that's it. You've done nothing. You know nothing. You have nothing. You are nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just, like I think it was Kirk Douglas who said once in an interview, he said, to be born ignorant and stupid is an unavoidable accident, but to remain that way is criminal negligence.
Beautiful.
So that's what I feel. I want to wake people up and tell them, go back and get your life back. Go get a life. Wake up and find out the people who are running you and own you and manipulating and controlling you are just people. And that's all they are. It's just people like you, and they're trying to manipulate and exploit you to keep you ignorant and stupid so you don't know what's going on so that they are in a better position to control you. No. I want to know who wrote the law. And I remember talking to attorneys a long time ago, many years ago, telling them, I said, when you go to university or college to learn law, you're not learning law, you're learning procedure. You don't learn any law, you learn procedure. How to say, what to say, the way to say it, and what have all the other lawyers and judges and courts have said things, 100 years ago, 50 years ago. So what you're doing is reading and understanding procedure. Well, you do the same thing when you go to work for a big corporation like General Motors. When you go in, there's a period when you're learning your job. What you're doing is you're learning procedure to do your job. You're not learning what the boss upstairs is doing. You're not learning where the corporation is getting its money and who actually owns the corporation. Nobody's giving you that. They're teaching you what the screws and where to put the screws in and, to do your job. So they're just teaching you procedure. They're not telling you anything. So that's the same thing in law. Lawyers are not being told anything about law. If you want to get into law, let's get it back into ancient prehistoric world and where the first laws were ever written and what was the concept of law and who said there was a law. And then, so like I said, it's just a world of knowledge that's been hidden from the human race, and all I want to do is just give back what I was so happy to be able to get from other people. And
you've done that. You've done that so magnificently, Jordan. And I'll vouch for that. And many a person and listener will also vouch for that. Let's take a break, and we'll be back in a few short minutes. Welcome back, friends. You're on American Freedom Radio, and today's special guest is Jordan Maxwell. So, continuing with the theme, I guess, of waking up, Jordan, what are your feelings about the future now? We've obviously transitioned astrologically through a very important portal, which was the 21st of December. And how do we go forward? How do we reach critical mass, save humanity, and all of that stuff?
Santos, I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know that it's even possible to save humanity. I mean, you look back in history, and God knows you've done a great job on that. Look back at history to the ancient, not only the Sumerians, but the Proto-Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Aztecs, the Mayas, all of the ancient cultures of the world. Where are they? They all fell apart. They're gone. They come up, they prosper, they get too prosperous, they get lazy, then they get stupid, and then they're gone. And so it looks like it's in the nature of the human being and in the nature of mankind to fail, continually fail. There will be times when great statesmen and great people will come onto the scene, great scientists and people of renown who have done something for the human race. And for a short time, their presence on Earth impacts civilization, like Nikola Tesla, Royal Rife, Wilhelm Reich, and Buddha and other, the idea is that every now and then, like a Gandhi, every now and then there will be someone who will come onto the earth and do something for the whole human race, but as soon as they pass on, it's all forgotten. It all goes back. It's like the Bible has the scripture in the New Testament says the human race is like the waves of the sea, and God knows that's exactly correct. Like the waves of the sea. You'll notice if you go to the ocean and watch the waves, they're all going one way. Then they hit something, and they bounce back, and now they're going back the other way, and then they come back in, and then they hit the shore, and now they're going back out again. So they're like the waves of the sea. So they're voting Republicans, and my God, the Republicans are going to save us, and we need to have the Republicans. Not reeling the Republican Party in America as a Nazi party. It's made up of the old Nazi regime that was brought here under Operation Paperclip. And that the Republican Party is, in point of fact, the old Nazi party. The old German Nazi SS Gestapo is today referred to in America as the Republican Party. But most people don't have any idea about that, and it really hasn't got anything to do with basketball, so I can understand why it's not important. But that's a fact. But then on the other hand, once they find out how corrupt the Republican Party is, they're going to kick them out and put in the Democratic Party, which is, of course, the old Soviet Communist Party. The Democratic Party is the old Soviet Communist Party come to America. Because all the Soviet communist countries were called democratic people. They were the People's Democratic Republic of China, People's Democratic Republic of North Korea, and the Democratic Republic of Cuba. Go back and read. You'll find every single Soviet communist country was always referred to as a democratic republic. Well, that's what we have. We have Republicans, Nazis, or democratic communists, Soviet communists. So that's what America's left with now. We have the right wing and left wing. Of course, the eagle on the back of the dollar bill only has two wings. So that's why you can't have a third party here, because an eagle only has two wings, a right wing and a left wing. So once you stop breaking down these words and terms and looking at the history of where politics comes from and what the words mean in government and where the laws come from, and then you begin to really dig deep. And I've said this before, and I think it bears witness to say it again, that if you have a two-story building and you're going to put a lot of weight on the second floor, like printing presses or whatever, before you do that, you should go downstairs with the building inspector, go up on a ladder, and check the foundation of that second floor to see if it's going to hold that kind of weight. So what you're doing is you're standing underneath the foundation that you're going to build on. And so that's where we get our idea of understanding, because you're standing under the foundation to get understanding. So unless you dig down deep below the surface of life, you're not going to understand how this world really works. Because one thing I can guarantee you, and you will know, but most people don't, is that nothing in this world operates the way you think it does. I do mean nothing. Nothing works the way you think it does. Nothing is what you think it is. And, I was growing up, I used to hear people talking about smoke and mirrors. The whole world's smoke and mirrors. I never realized, what that meant, smoke and mirrors. I can see the police, I can see government, I can see an automobile. What do you mean the where I live in is smoke and mirrors? Well, now I understand intellectually. Yeah, it's words and terms, the way the words are used. You are manipulated and exploited by your ignorance of where words come from, the etymology of words, and and where do concepts and ideas come from. Who said the Pope represents God? My Lord, when are we going to wake up and start doing some research and study on our own as to where stuff comes from? So, that's what I've spent my whole life doing, is looking at the dark side. And I'm telling you, I know when I leave this world, I will not have even scraped the surface of what's really out there. But I consider the Bible to be a very important book, not because I believe it is from the hand of God. No. I know where it's come from. But I also know that it is a collection of knowledge and wisdom that's based on the ancient world. So the people who wrote the Bible, whoever actually penned the scriptures, were retelling a far more ancient story and doing it in such a way as to couch it in symbolism and metaphors and symbols. But if you understand that the Bible is a metaphor, it's a symbolic stories, but they're telling you something, then you see the real value of the Bible, and I do, and that's what I've been wanting to do for a long time, is explain to people the dark stuff that's really interesting and thought-provoking that's actually in the Bible you've never heard before, and I mean never heard. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm through talking about government. Government, as far as I'm concerned, is finished. It's an old. It's passé. Government is so corrupt now. It's so far gone now. It's so evil now that we need to have God step in, or aliens from another world or something, because the human race will not be able to do anything about or extricate itself out of the mess it's in. It can't be done. The human race does not have the wherewithal to extricate itself out of and get itself out of the mess it's in. There's no doubt in my mind about that. We do not have what it takes to save the human race. I mean, I've told you that before in the program, that I look at the human race like we're a bunch of animals out there in the Serengeti plains of Africa. Just herds and herds of thousands of animals out there chewing their cud and eating the grass and trying to find something to eat and take care of their young, while the lions are in the high grass, organized. Lions are a lot of things, but organized is one of the words you use for lions. They know what they're doing. They're working together. They are creeping up on the herd very quietly in the high grass. And so all the herd out there, they cannot protect themselves. There's 3,000 of them, and there's only 6 lions. But they cannot protect themselves. Why? Because they're stupid. They don't know what's going on. All they know is when the lion shows up, they run. And that's the same thing with the human race. We can't protect ourselves. We don't even know how to read. For God's sakes, all we know is the basketball score. We don't know how anything works. We don't know what the law says. We don't know what God is. We don't know much about anything. All we know is the cop pulls out a gun and we go to jail. That's it. You got to go to court. Never suspect that. It never occurred to you. Why do you go to court? You go to court because you play basketball on a court. You play tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Come on, wake up. The whole thing is a racket. And once you understand, it's just people manipulating and exploiting and misusing people. And so that's why, as far as I'm concerned, the Bible's right when it says, put not your trust in earthly man in whom there is no salvation. There ain't a man walking to this earth that is salvation to anybody. Obama, Bush, or any of the other Nazis, communists, fascists, political rulers, none of them, especially the Holy Father.
Yeah. And with that thought, let's go to a break. We're at the top of the hour. And, Jordan, if you don't mind, we'll open the caller lines. And I also have my very good friend, Kate of Gaia, who is going to be joining to shoot some questions your way. Kate is one of the leading, for want of a better word, sovereigns or law-free individuals on the planet today. So I hope you appreciate that, and I hope you don't mind. And would you like the caller line on?
Oh, yes, that's fine. Whatever.
Lovely. All right, friends, hang in there with us. It's Jordan Maxwell, special guest today, and call in, and we'll be back at the new hour. Thank you.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to American Freedom Radio. You're with Santos Bonacci for a new hour, for another hour. And we've been with Jordan Maxwell. And I have the lines open, so if you want to call in, the number is 218-339-8525. And Jordan, I have two of my very good friends with me, Mark Hollywood and Kate of Gaia. And Mark and Kate have been hosts with me and guests on many, many radio shows. We speak about the same themes, exactly the same themes as you do. And because Mark and Kate have followed all your work and love and respect you, they would love to fire some questions at you and to kick the questions off. I have the caller lines open too, so we might monitor that and see how we go. So welcome, Kate and Mark.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I just want to say thank you so much for all the work you've done. You've been in the game a long time, and you've made a difference and changed the world. I know you changed mine, and I know I get an opportunity to change it as well. And I do want to say this, and if I don't say it, I won't hear the end of it. My dear friend Terry says that she wanted me to say I love you, and that she looks up to you, and you remind her of her dad, and that is a compliment of compliments, my friend. So put that one in your pipe.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long road, and it's been a real strange one. I mean, there have been some good times, and there's the off times too. But it's all been for a reason, and so I believe that I just do what I do. There must be a reason why, and all I wanted to do was ultimately is impact the world that wants to know. I wanted to help people who want to know. I'm not interested in entertaining anybody, but I always appreciated, as I said, I always appreciated people who put themselves out so that I could go out and listen to them and learn. So I'm just wanted to pay back and do the same thing for those who are coming up behind me, who want to know and who want to learn. I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to at least know where to go to look, and give them some ideas to start thinking about. So, but I thank you for that. Very nice.
Thank you too, Jordan.
Well, thank you.
It's a real pleasure to finally at least get to tell you how much I think about you, because I think you're the man, you and Irene Moss. So just keep up the good work.
Well, like I always try and say, I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything. I just love talking to people who want to know and helping people to learn. I'm always excited when I hear people who are really interested and want to know. That's always great as far as I'm concerned. I'm always happy to spend time and try and help people who want to know. So.
I did want to share one thing along with what you guys are saying. Every day that goes by, Jordan, I need you to know this, and I need you to put your heart and soul into mankind. We've uncovered a lot of different parts of the Matrix, and every day that goes by, I see an increase in those awakening. It has gone exponential. We are now cresting tsunami. Mankind will awaken, and it won't take. We don't need to have all of us wake up. Each of us are the 100th monkey, my key, and all we have to do as individuals is decide to turn that key. And so, very few of us, and the number is growing, but so very few of us were willing to throw it all in. You did. I know Santo did. I know Mark did. I know I did, and Tony and so many others. So, I've heard so many times it being said, Santos said it, Bill Donahue, yourself, and the way is narrow. The way is very narrow, and I know now why so few will get through that way, but not all of us have to in order to open the floodgates.
No, that's true. Yeah.
We're on it.
Yeah, well, that is true. The way is very, very tight and narrow, and the whole world is on the freeway. They're on the broad way. But if you want to save your life, then you take off the freeway, get off the main stream. stream
Absolutely.
of water. Get off that main maritime admiralty. Get off the main stream. Get off on the next off-ramp and take a side road. And like the Bible says, go back to the old way. Well, the old way is the astro-theology, the astrology, the old ancient science that Santos has so incredibly well articulated even for me. I'm just fascinated listening to all the stuff that he brings out that I had no knowledge of. So I think it's an idea that is destined to impact the world, the old way, the ancient knowledge, the ancient wisdom. I'm just happy to see somebody doing it now. So, and incidentally, if you want to ask me any questions, that's no guarantee I'll have any answers.
Oh, I'm just happy to talk to you. It's just nice to share the mind, that's all. It's beautiful. And I know there's a lot of people out there that you have, as well as Santo and Mark, have made a large difference in their lives. And that needs to be noted. It needs to be shown the credit where the credit is due. And it's one of the things that so many people miss, well, the opportunities mostly, but when people stand and stop and look around themselves to see their own mirrors, i.e. everyone around you, the reaction you get is that which you were given. And it is entirely up to the individual to make that difference. And when I see people like you guys, and I have my own mirror too, right? So, but when I see people like you guys destined to make the change within, inevitably what happens is the change does come without, because you become the light for others to follow. And, you know, I know, listening to a lot of your stuff, Jordan and Santo and Mark, and myself, we've all had our opportunities, the good times and everything else, but we've also had those moments where we've literally fallen to our knees and the torch almost hit the ground.
Oh, yeah.
But it never touched. And that's the thing, and that's all people have to remember, that no matter how bad it gets, that torch will never touch the ground if the heart is in the line of truth and it's following that narrow versus...
Yeah, well, like, you know, I've always noticed that no matter how bad and desperate it gets, and I have been in desperate places where I've lost my wife, I lost my family, I lost everything, and but at the you know, in the darkest hours, something happens which keeps me alive and keeps me going. And so I realized that there is a dark force in the world that's organized, intelligent, organized, and vicious, and it does not wish the human race to awaken to what's really going on, and it will do whatever it can to make life miserable for you, and if it has to, it will kill you, because this kind of wisdom and knowledge is earth-shaking. When we find out how the world really works, if the human race ever woke up and matured enough to understand how the world really works, my God, I think that the cure would be as bad as the disease, because if people ever really wake up and discover how their world actually works, it's going to be frightening. It's absolutely going to be frightening to them, because everything they have ever believed to be true, everything they've dedicated their life to supporting, and they find out that it's been a lie from day one, and they've been played for a fool, and it was not true. It's going to be very difficult for those people. I think it was Gerald Massey who said, they are going to find it difficult, they who have accepted the authority as truth rather than the truth as the authority. So people are going to wake up one day, and when they do and find out that all their religious beliefs and all their governmental beliefs and their systems are all man-made, corrupt, lies, deception, and that there is, in fact, a divine presence in the heaven that men have called God. There is some kind of a divine wisdom written into the heavens, as the Scripture says, but boy, when we find out what the real truth is, it's going to be, like I said, sometimes I think the cure is going to be as bad as the disease, because it's going to cause chaos around the world if we ever find out Catholic Church is nothing more than a mafiosi criminal organization. It started out that way. Rome was never popular as being wonderful and holy. Rome was always bloodletting, tyranny, and it still is. And you got to ask yourself the question, why is it that the political parties from all over the world, communists, Nazis, fascists, all kinds of corrupt people and leaders all over the world that hate each other, killing each other, but they all, every single one, will go to Rome and bow and kiss the ring of the Holy Father? What does that tell you about the way the world works? So I'm just saying that it's an idea whose time has come. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime when the world awakens to what's really going on. But, and as I said, to me, from my viewpoint, it looks like as hopeless. I think so often it's totally hopeless because there are those people who are waking up, but there are just countless millions who have no idea in the world and couldn't care less. And so it's a tsunami of stupidity. So I do the best I can, and thank God we got other people like Santos and yourself who are trying to do something to help the human race. But anyway, that's about my feelings.
And you know what, too, Jordan? I just want to say this. It's an honor to be on this call with you, and you are waking people up, and I know exactly how you feel, because sometimes it is depressing. Like, you look around and you go, my God, like, why don't the people, the slaves, just open their eyes? But I honestly have to say I'm honored to be in your presence, because like you've sure opened up my eyes. And like you say, my life's had its ups and downs and its dark points too and stuff, and I guess probably everybody else does, but it's part of it. And if you want to get away from slavery, well, it sure is a tough pill. But once again, Jordan, I just can't say thank you enough to you. You're definitely the man of the hour, the month, and the millennium as far as I'm concerned. So thanks.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for it.
Oh, yeah,
you're welcome.
I'll vouch for that, and I know what you'll say, Kate, because we're like, Jordan's like an older brother. I hear the concern and the love when he speaks. I don't hear negativity. I hear love and concern as an older brother. My mother loves Jordan. He's the only one that she'll really, really listen for hours and hours. I've got all of the She Who Remembers archives. Got them off Jan Irvin, actually. There's probably about 30 hours, and I put them on disc for my brother and my family. But my mother says that Jordan's voice is like a big brother. And so it's that concern. We are, Kate, Mark, myself, and probably thousands of listeners, no doubt, are a generation who have benefited from the expansion of consciousness of Jordan's material. And that Gerald Massey quote that you gave, Jordan, that was exquisite. How's this one from Leonardo da Vinci, people? Pretty similar to that one about the truth and the authority of Gerald Massey's. He said, if you find from your own experience that something is a fact and it contradicts what some authority has written down, then you must abandon the authority and have your reasoning on your own findings.
Yep.
Sorry, let me see if I've read that correctly. Then you must abandon the authority and base your reasoning on your own findings. How's that?
Well, that's scientific. That's the scientific method, and that's why I have been saying for so long that science today is not science. It is a religion, because that's scientific, coming from Da Vinci, who was a scientist, and so that's true. As a real scientist, you do the work, you do the exploratory surgery, you do the research, and prove out a theory or a concept and understand it. And then if the government says no, it's not true, you stay with what you know for a fact. Don't worry about what other people are telling you. And so that's true. But unfortunately, science today is a religion. As I said, they have their holy books. They get their money from the government. They get their grants from the universities. And whatever the powers that be say that science says, then that's what it says. And it doesn't matter if the facts are totally different. It doesn't matter. Scientists are prostitutes across the board prostitutes. They take money and go with the flow and do what they're told to do to keep their job. They're not scientists. They're religionists. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the bottom line.
I was going to add to that to the degree that not so much that it being science and let's call it churchianity for lack of a better word and the rest of it, the true religion that and this is what the masses worship as well, they worship Caesar, the money, and this for me is where mankind sells its soul for debt notes, which is kind of funny.
Well, that's true. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, that's the name of the tomb. I've heard that prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. No, thank you. Not even close. Religion, government is the oldest profession in the world. Manipulation and exploitation of the ignorant people. That God's going to get you, and you need to give 20%, 15% of your income to the church and to the Lord, and all this stuff of the Lord. I mean, the very word "Lord" in relation to religion, the very word "Lord" in relation to religion is traced back to Lord Krishna, which gives us our word Christos or Christ. Lord Christ, Christos, Krishna, Hindu. That's where the whole thing goes back to. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam can be traced back to ancient Hinduism. And, my God, that's a whole story in itself.
Yeah, hang on to that one, Jordan. We're going to a break. There's the music. And I've got a couple of callers waiting in line, so we'll go to those after the break. Thank you. Welcome back, friends. You're with Santos Bonacci and special guest Jordan Maxwell today, and we have Kate and Mark also co-hosts for the second hour, and we're going to go to caller, friends.
Santos, before we go to callers, my battery has run out on my phone, so don't be surprised if it cuts off and I'm gone for good. So I'll stay with you as long as my battery is giving me indications it's getting ready to go out.
In which case, I will ask the caller to be brief as possible then. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
Yes. Shoot away.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
Oh, all right. Hey, Santo. I've talked to you before, and I talked to Kate. This is Jim. Jordan's been talking, a little bit of doom and gloom. I really hopefully think that this time around we can get it right. And, I'm not, I just hope so.
Can I address this, Santo?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. One of the things, Jim, good to hear from you, by the way. And Jordan, you need to hear this, my friend. You need to hear love like you've never heard it before. The difference you have made is so big you can't see it anymore. And there are people like you and Mark and Santo, people like you that people like Santo, myself, and Mark can stand on the shoulders of. We stand on the shoulders of giants. So what I feel coming from you is the most glorious compassion, which is the neutral love, which is the purest kind of all. So I just want you to know what I'm hearing in your voice, Jordan, and I know I'm speaking for countless thousands that we talk to every week, hour upon hour upon hour. So I need you to know that your heart is as light as a feather. It already is measured and weighted, and I know that because it made my heart lighter. And I need you to know that. We got the torch from here, my friend, so sit back, kick up a little bit, and know that you are loved beyond any comprehension of the word.
Well, I appreciate it, and I thank you. I know I sound pessimistic, but I know things that other people don't know, and I've been looking at it for 53 years, while most people criticize me, haven't looked at it for 53 minutes. I mean, I know what's going on. I know how big this thing is. I know how ancient it is and how well-connected it is and how well-financed it is. And I know that there's only a handful of people on the earth who understand, but while the great masses of the people couldn't care less. So I leave it to God. I leave it to the universe. I leave it to the stars to see what's going to happen to the human race, because what we're facing is absolutely monstrous. Fearful.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. But all this is coming down. I have a feeling we're going to win this one. I really do. I really, really do. And
well, I hope so. George Orwell, the author of 1984, was asked a long time ago in an interview, was asked, what do you really see the world coming to be? What do you really see for the future? I mean, we read your book, but what do you really think? And he said, I see the world as an iron boot on the face of a child. I see an iron boot on the face of humanity. That's what I see. And that's what I see the same thing. I see a totalitarian, fascist, Nazi, communist, fascist world state growing, and the people who are doing it is the Holy Father in Rome, the royalty of Europe, the holy ones and all the royalty and all the ones that we crawl on our knees to and beat ourselves with sackcloth and ashes and are so impressed with. These are the people who are going to destroy your life, your home, and put you into prison and take away your spirituality, take away your honor as a human being, take away your humanity, and now take away your mind. And they're feeding you drugs, they're feeding you narcotics and alcohol and filthy, degenerate entertainment to destroy the human family. And that's what I see, and that's why I'm saying, if anything's going to help us, it's going to have to come from outside. It's got to come from out there. It has something to do with astrology and astronomy and the heavens, because human race, we're just too stupid. We don't get it.
You know
it's
what,
okay.
Jordan?
The Gemini showed up. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and you know what, Jordan? You've already did, I think, what you were sent here to do, which is enlighten the masses, and now it's just a matter of a few other people picking up the torch and running with it. And don't kid yourself, Jordan. I say this with all love. People are starting to wake up, and they're waking up on a fast and rampant pace. So at least from what I see, don't get me wrong, you're absolutely right. But this thing is going to overturn, and love is going to set people free, and it's all going to be nonviolent too, I think.
Hey, Jordan.
Uh-huh.
You know the old saying that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree?
That's right.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm one of those apples, and you're that mighty tree. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I see it. I see the problems we're facing not as political or religious, but cosmic. I'm talking about saving the whole human race, the whole human experiment on the earth, the protection and the forward movement of the whole human family on the earth. That's what I see coming, the destruction of the whole idea of freedom, liberty, and honor and decency for the human race. That's what we're losing across the board around the world. And it's because of people who are highly organized criminals, like the Pope, like the Vatican, mafiosi, underworld, governments, politics, governments, courts, everything you touch, our educational systems, it's all corrupt, period. And we need to understand there's nothing out there of any value whatsoever, period. So you need to go back to the old way, like Santos has shown so often. Go back to the old sciences, go back to the old ways. This is this new stuff that's killing us. So I don't have any respect for the world I live in. I want to try and save the human race, but it's a very big job. So I'm only one person, but maybe you're right. Maybe there is some hope. I don't know.
But you know what, Jordan? That's just it, Jordan. We have to do this, and we have to instill this into other people. And it's a hard path. I mean, if somebody would have asked me years ago, like, hey, do you want to stop being a slave and maybe risk not eating on some days and not helping out on bills with the family and friends and stuff, and it's a tough pill, but you know what? It's got to be done, and at least when we go, Jordan, at least we can go with honor and dignity, and that's my main goal.
Well, I know, I agree with you. That's why we do what we do, and I do it, as I said, for those who want to know. I don't care about the people who don't want to know. I don't want anybody hearing me as entertainment. I'm not a license in Hollywood to be an entertainer. I'm not an entertainer. I'm a teacher. I want to help people educate themselves. I don't care about entertaining and making money and dancing around the stage and being important. I care about what my life has been all about, is to research and study, and that's what the word research means. Not to search, research. Go back to the old ways. Look at what mankind had before it lost it. Go back and reestablish the human race on a very powerful truth, on a basis of truth and honesty and decency. So I'm physically tired at 72 years old. I've been doing it for 50 years, and I'm tired. But hopefully we are making some kind of a change. Did the best I could.
Well, you did an amazing job, and the world has changed, my friend. It's all good. It's all good. We got this one. Don't worry. We're going to take this one home for you, okay? I have no question. I stand in truth to the death, and that's why the system fears me, and it will always fear me, and I laugh in its face. Yeah,
well, I know, and I ultimately trust the Spirit. There's no doubt in my mind that there is a higher intelligence, a wise, profoundly intelligent spirit that people have called God. I don't care what you call it, but there is something out there that's greater than we are, and it is organized. It is highly intelligent, and so I trust the Spirit every day just to keep me alive, so I can do what I do. Death has become a perceptible thing to me now that I'm 72. And I don't want to leave until I know that I've done something that I wanted to do and got it done. It's very difficult to do because nowadays, there's so much treachery around, especially around me. I've had my website stolen and it's gone. I've had all my products stolen; they're gone. And so I'm just amazed at how much treachery there is, in my life. But then again, I'm still here doing what I do, so we'll see where it's going to go.
Hey, Jordan. Yep. Jordan, while we've got a minute before the break, please share with people your websites and how people can help you if they should wish to in any way possible, because we are very familiar with what's happened what's transpired in the last, say, 6 months with all of that action against you. So if there are any people out there that are able to and wish to support Jordan, please share that with us, Jordan.
Yes, just email me and then I can get back to you. My email is jordanmaxwell@gmail.com. That's jordanmaxwell@gmail.com, but the Jordan has no A. It's Jordn. Jordan without the A. jordanmaxwell@gmail.com. Jordan has no A. And my phone number is 818-514-6294. 818 is 514-6294. Email me. Call me. I try to make myself available to the world. I'm not trying to hide, like other people. I make myself available to the best I can. I don't have time to sit and chit-chat for the rest of my life, but I am always happy to take phone calls and read and answer my own emails if I can. I live by myself and I have nothing, so I can't always answer all emails, but do email me. It's again Jordan with no A. jordanmaxwell@gmail.com.
And Jordan, after the break, I would like to, for just 1 or 2 minutes, if Kate can help us with that, Kate's going to explain the new document that Kate has devised and given to the world on the 25th of December last year, which will put an end to the fiction of the what we call the legal system. So this will be in tribute to your work that you've done on law, etc. So, and I want you to know this. I want you to know what Kate's document, the content of it. So if Kate's able to do that succinctly, and Mark, you were mentioning a good remedy and a way to lose those entities that Jordan was talking about, you know, the royal families and the Pope and all of these creepy entities. During the break, you had a nice little remedy. Why don't you share that with us before we go to the break?
Sure. You want me to start right now, Santos?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, man. My bad. Basically, people... I just worded things really simple. I went through the Court of Queen's Bench, which is the federal court, and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms states that you have the right to enter in to become a Canadian.
Wait, Mark. No,
Yeah?
Mark. I was referring to the remedy that you spoke about by not paying these. Not paying. How do we get rid of these entities? It's quite easy. Ignore them. Don't pay their bills. They're all illegal.
That's how I did it, Santos. I just said that I'm not a Canadian and I'm no longer a slave on your ship, and I had it certified and authenticated, and so now I don't pay taxes. I have a police file with the Edmonton police, and nobody really seems to want to bother me anymore, thank God, which is all I want.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Is that why in Australia they always call each other mate?
Yeah, I'll get to that question after the break. So we've got.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Nice one. Okay, hang in there, folks. We've got Jordan Maxwell, and we're coming back for the final segment after the break. Thank you. Welcome back, friends. You're with Santos Bonacci for the final segment, and we've been. We're just closing off the 2 hours with Jordan Maxwell, and I have co-host Kate and Mark Hollywood with me. And now, Kate, can you please share with Jordan this wonderful, wonderful remedy that you are sharing with the world at this great moment in history, because I'm sure Jordan will be very interested to hear this, and many of the listeners, and the great remedy that they now have available.
Okay, I sent this out on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. It's always about the 3 times the charm. I deal in the ether realms, as I was mentioning to Mark, and Santo and Mark already know this about me. Effectively, what was uncovered through myself and a handful of other people using rather unorthodox means to find this, we learned how to read the Black's Law Magic book properly, and what we got out of it was everything in the mirror. And now it's to put it in. I'll show you a really quick overview of what natural law and how it has been mimicked by their corporate fiction world. Word of Admiralty. This was the key to this document. Word of Admiralty, which is a seaman. Now, that can be, listen to the sound of it, right? And you, a master of words, Jordan, get this. A seaman, so called because of the legal view that a seaman in contractual matters should be treated as a beneficiary and the other contracting party as a fiduciary because of the perceived inequitability of the bargaining positions. Fiduciary is mom. You see, the children are the fruits of mom and dad's labor, actually mom's labor in particular, and that's why there's perceived inequitability. So effectively what happens with the birth certificate is the parents give away the fruit of their labor unwittingly, and of course through deception, and so everything's backwards here. Now, the biggest problem, though, is one of the clues I had early on that was very clear was a birth certificate is not to be used for identification purposes, right? So that being said, I had to find out why, and here it is. Here's why. I'll just read the paragraph and you'll get the idea. I'm going to send you a copy of this, Jordan, so you have it. Yeah. And I would love for you to come on. I do radio shows all through the week as well. I'd love to get you on a show and just go to town on this because I know you'll have fun. So here it is. Whereas my star contract, long-form birth certificate, is in custody with the Registrar General and given under seal of the General Registrar Office, Belfast, Northern Ireland, as claimed on the certified copy, my original copy hasn't been deposited in a lawful repository, namely the King's Exchequer at Westminster, as commanded by Richard I. It's my rightful duty to inform all parties, pirates, who have laid fraudulent claim to my stock as per Black's Law 9th edition West. Stock, the original progenitor of a family, a person from whom a family is descended, where inasmuch subrogation is present, I am the stock of my mother, father, self-evident in the blood ether, in my lineage veins, mitochondrial DNA, delta 9 Lucifer, delta 10 mDNA, from my mother, which is prima facie evidence of my bloodline, RHA positive, where my father is the beneficiary of any and all ascendants born to him. The father, semen, of any and all born to him, render him the beneficiary only, whereas the mother is fiduciary. So that's why they had to, you mentioned marriage licenses earlier, that's why they want to own the marriage from the outset. And it goes right back to prima nocta, which is first night, which can give the assumption that, somehow we're blood related to the crown, which is all bullshit, and you know that, and I know that. And one other thing that I do like to make clear to people, do not be a beneficiary, morons. Here's why. Because if you take on the role of a beneficiary, you're taking the testatory debt. So here's what you need to do. It's called a beneficium, which is a privilege, remedy or benefit granted by law, such as the beneficium abstinendi, privilege of abstaining, by which an heir can refuse or could refuse to accept an inheritance and thereby avoid the accompanying debt. Beneficium abstinendi, privilege of abstaining, the right of an heir to refuse an inheritance and thus avoid liability for the testator's debts. And it goes on and on, Jordan, but the bottom line is this. Every birth certificate is an unlawful document until it is placed in a lawful repository. And we located where these are. And until then, what they did was they gave us a receipt called a short form birth certificate, which removes the parents off of the original document, thereby, by assumption, claiming that the state somehow is our parent. And what naughty parents they are. So anyway, I served this up. It takes 30 days for a perfected claim to go through, and on January 25th is the 30 days. And Santo, what's coming up on January 25th?
Yeah, that's the conversion of St. Paul. In other words, Saturn changes through rulership from Capricorn to Aquarius, and the 25th of January is that, because Saul becomes Paul, or in other words, Saturn becomes Apollo, because Paul or Saturn rules both of those signs. So it's very significant for this world history-making document to be fruitful on that day.
I follow the old ways.
So, Jordan, I wanted you to know that because you probably won't hear about it any other way. You really needed to hear that because all the people that have been working hard, and we've got a lot of shining lights in this department, There's a lot of great researchers out there that we've benefited from, including Jordan. There's hundreds of them. But this document needs to be known by all the ones that have worked hard on this subject because we've exposed the fraud. So once you do that, it's checkmate. So really, it's all over. It is all over for their fictional system.
Well, I do want to share this. Guys. Jordan, Santo, Mark, everyone listening, everyone that has ever come into contact in my life, this is your document. Okay, this is something I put to paper, but it is your document because without you, I don't have the experience to write it. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I would also throw in this. Write this word down. 2 words. Parents, P-A-R-E-N-S. That's P-A-R-E-N-S. Second word, patri, P-A-T-R-I-A-E. That's P-A-T-R-I-A-E. That's a law. Go back and read it yourself, and which says the government is, in point of fact, your parent. It owns you. It gave birth to you. It is your parent. Therefore, you are owned by your parent. And the parent, by law, is the government. The government is your parent. It gave birth to you.
Yeah, they only own the fiction. That's why
right.
when you claim a name, you are denying yourself your own inheritance. That's why.
Right. You're right.
I changed my calling, which is here's something else that I need people to get. Custom is senior to law, always, because a custom within a nation of people or a community is the law. Such as a cannibal, a group of cannibals, it is customary for them to eat other humans. It's no law is required. That's customary. So it is customary for me to be called Kate. It is customary for me to travel freely. It is customary for me to be free. I don't need laws. That's my custom.
Yeah, well, you're right, because there is a Roman maxim that says that the custom of the people is to be obeyed as law. It's an actual maximum in law.
So I would suggest maybe to people to stop thinking in legal, lawful terms and start thinking in customary terms.
Of course.
It is customary to be obliging to each other. It is customary to love one another.
You're right.
We don't need laws for that.
No doubt.
It's all natural, baby.
Let me say
all
also before my phone goes out. Hopefully, it won't go out before the end. But the fact that I don't, at this moment, have control over my website has been taken from me, and therefore I would like for anyone listening, and I'd like for this to get out to the whole world. Any emails you may get from me are not from me. It's from the people who own my website. So anything you buy on my website does not go to me. It goes to the people who have taken my website from me. So anything you purchase from me goes to them. Any emails that you may email me on my website, jordanmaxwell.com, does not go to me. It goes to the people who have taken my website. And so any correspondence going to my website or coming from my website is not me. I don't do it. I don't own it. I don't have it. They've taken it from me. And so if you buy anything, it's not going to me. It's going to the crooks that took my website from me. So,
Jordan, I have something I can offer you before your phone dies. We do have a website, and I will email you that you are more than welcome to become part of. Santo, you might want to explain what that is.
Oh, yeah. Jordan would be perfect for joining Syncreticity.com, where we have...
I know about it, yes. I mean, I know about the website. I haven't really looked at it, but I know that it exists. I haven't really looked at it yet.
Well, you're welcome to join us there, Jordan, and they will help you with all of that, Okay. And folks, all listeners, please don't support the people who have stolen Jordan's intellectual property, because they're very cunning. They're disguised as Jordan and making money off of Jordan's back. So follow the instructions. If you have to go back to the audio archive of this show, get the phone numbers again, write them down properly, and communicate directly to the voice if you want to offer some help there. Thank you. All right, Jordan, so we've got a couple of minutes. It's all yours. Take it to the end, please, and when the music comes, I'll chop you off.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you, because I'm really honored to be on any kind of a program with Santos, because I consider his work to be absolutely monumental in awakening the world, because it's awakened me. It's given me a lot of information I didn't have. So contact me at jordanmaxwell@gmail.com, and the Jordan has no A. So do email me, and I'll try and get back to you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you, brother. Thank you kindly, Jordan.
We'll
and listeners, thank you for joining us. I hope you appreciated the show, and stay tuned next week for some more great guests. Thank you.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.